Hello and welcome to 100 Authors in 100 Days. Today we are sharing a three-part series on connection and leadership. We are honored to welcome a figure whose work has redefined leadership, gender dynamics, and entrepreneur spirit. We have with us Dr. Pauline Crawford, the esteemed founder of Corporate Heart International, an author, international speaker, certified entrepreneurologist, and the original thinker behind Gender Dynamics, GDI. With a career spanning over 7 decades and impacting clients worldwide, Dr. Pauline has made significant strides in understanding and applying gender dynamics in the corporate world. Her pioneering concept of gender dynamic intelligence has revolutionized our approach to gender relations in professional settings. Dr. Pauline's primary message revolves around her discovery of 4 gender dynamics archetypes. These archetypes are not just theoretical concepts. They are the key to unlocking productive and harmonious interactions in what Dr. Pauline affectionately refers to as the playground of life. Her passion lies in identifying patterns of harmony and helping others to recognize and navigate these patterns to foster deeper human connections. Dr. Pauline's vision of authentic harmony in the workplace goes beyond empowering women. It's about creating a narrative of leadership that honors both men and women, promoting a collaborative, heart-centered approach to professional and personal success. Today, she will share her insights on how these gender dynamic archetypes can be utilized to enhance our understanding and interacting in both our personal and professional lives. So be prepared to be enlightened as we dive into the world of human connections, gender dynamics, and leadership with Dr. Pauline Crawford. Welcome.
Hello, Adriana. I'm so delighted to be here. What a wonderful introduction.
Yes. So, Dr. Pauline, we're going to explore the foundation of GDI. And our first question today is, could you elaborate on the concept of gender dynamics, GDI, and how you came to develop this groundbreaking idea? What inspired you to delve into the gender dynamics in the corporate world?
Well, before I got to the corporate world, it really started in my own life. And I always think the best stories come from your own experience. I never imagined that I would be a corporate professional when I was a teenager and when I went to university. I thought I'd probably get a job and then I would stay home and have children and not become an entrepreneur. But as I did, I realized that everything that I experienced as a teenager was coming to the fore. Because I happened to be what I would call quite a masculine-minded woman. Some might call it a tomboy. I'm not sure if that is PC at all. But I think I was trying to observe myself. I'm a great observer of patterns, as you alluded to. And I was looking at myself and other women around me. And I thought, why am I different? My brothers, I had 2 brothers and a sister. And I was looking at the patterns of human beings and how they interacted and how they built relationships. And in that period where I really wasn't as sure of myself as I was about my destiny ahead, I was going to be a mother of 4. And when I got to it, I realized that I loved business. I was very fortunate in my first career ever after university was actually in a very lively tourist business, lots of boys and girls, and very much, in the 70s, and very lively. And even there, I think I started observing how to deal with different difficult conversations. Mm-hmm. So I really started looking at myself and started observing body shapes and words and gestures. Why was I the way I was, and why was somebody different to me? And I actually became an image consultant before I entered the corporate world. And that really, really helped me to understand that the way we impact somebody else is what we bring into the room. And when I walked in, I had dark hair at the time, but I had a very angular physique. I would wear very square jackets, very strong look. And in fact, I discovered that men were quite frightened by this. Not that I was trying to frighten them. But I started thinking, it isn't just about different types of women as it was at school, because I was at an all-girls school. But when I got into the workplace, I realized that it was very important to understand men and understand how women reacted to men. So that was really my first experience, growing up, actually becoming a mother, and then going beyond that. And interesting enough, I have a boy and a girl. So watching gender firsthand, and then watching it in the image world, and identifying myself as I would call it, a masculine-minded female. And as I went on, then I started looking at how to describe these differences, and that's really where it started.
Yes, I love that. And I love the way that you explain it because it's very simple. And when I first met you and you had written the first version of the book many years ago, I remember sharing with you that I wish I would have had this information when I was in the corporate world before I started doing my entrepreneurship journey or took on my entrepreneurship journey full on, because I think my life would have been a lot easier had I understood that I'm also a very masculine type of personality with some magical stuff in there, which we'll talk about. But it really did help me. Your work really did help me understand why it was I had certain characteristics within the corporate world, and it also helped me understand the people that I was working with. So that's why I find your work fascinating and love sharing how it is you came to know this. The second question, Dr. Pauline, is understanding the 4 archetypes. So in your research, you've defined 4 gender dynamic archetypes. What can you describe these archetypes for our audience and explain how recognizing and understanding these patterns can enhance workplace interactions and leadership?
Absolutely. And the thing is, we're talking about a reasonably complex issue here, how men to get on with women, how men and women work together in a period of equality and DEI and all sorts of things. So I wanted to make it simple because I recognized there were certain basic traits that were different in men and different in women. And this has been researched a long time before I got into this. Men are more task focused, women are more relational focused, women have a different functionality in their body. Men are a different body shape, a bit body type, as we know. And this is nothing to do with sexual preferences. It's just to do with basic human nature. And as I looked at it, I thought, right, men and women are different, but not all men are the same, and not all women are the same. So if you asked any audience, and I asked many, many audiences around the world, are men and women the same? The audience will always say, no. Are all men the same? No. Are all women the same? No. So I said, right, we needed some kind of very simple navigation tool so we can find out what's going on. So if you look at the other aspect of gender dynamics is the degree of masculine and feminine energy in us. And I mean that in a sense of energy. So whereas I talk about male and female as biology, I'm talking about feminine and masculine energy. So we find 4 archetypes and keep it simple. There's a masculine-minded male, but there's also a feminine-minded male. Now, this is not a sexual preference. This is the gentle man. So the masculine-minded male is our ruler. So I've given them names. And I think everybody will identify with him. He's action man. Basically, he's action man. He wants to know what we're going to do now. He's not great at conversation, especially not in the corporate world. But his counterpart, who is the more intuitive, sensitive male, who in past times has been called a servant leader, is our philosopher. So we call the feminine-minded male the philosopher. And it's feminine-minded, so it's about our intuition and our heart. So I would say that the philosopher is a thinker-feeler, and the ruler is an action man. So for all the women listening, we can identify these guys very easily.
Yes.
We can see it in celebrities, we can see it in our bosses, we can see it in our families. I've got 2 brothers, and one is a ruler and one is a philosopher. But the women are different. So we need to look at the same parameter with women. Do women have more masculine energy or more feminine energy over and above their femaleness? So what I qualify as core is our relational ability to nurture. And this is really important because both archetypes who are female are nurturers, they're relational builders. We talk a lot, that's what women do. We think in circles, we have menstrual cycles. But some of us are a very logical action mind to us. And this is the magician. So the magician is often in her head and looking at ideas, ideas, ideas. The other female is our feminine-minded female, and this is our beautiful sovereign. And there is a physicality to this. The sovereigns tend to be just a bit softer, slightly more curvy. There's a physicality to it, which we'll go into at another session. But we can see that the sovereign wants to build her castle. She's very, very good at compliance in the corporate world. She's very good at detail. Whereas the magician is absolutely energy spinning plates. And she has also got a heart, and she's nurturer, but she's always in her head thinking of ideas and ideas. So if we can take a quick poll around this, the ruler says, when are we going to get this task done? Well, the philosopher says, why are we doing it and how are we feeling? The sovereign says, who is with me? Who's in my camp? And the magician, like you and me, says, what's going on? Who's listening to my next what? Because I've got another what. So when we don't understand each other, we get into crazy places where we think everybody just doesn't think like us, and I'm the only one who's right. That's a classic human foible. So the goal with authentic harmony is that we accept who we are. The archetype helps us to understand our reactive behavior. And if we so desire harmony, and obviously that could be a choice for some people, then we look at ways that we can smooth our way forward. And let me tell you a story to explain this. I once went to a leadership conference, and there was a breakthrough leadership coach, and he was very, very fierce, very, I'm right. He actually had extremely good content, but his style was just a bit too aggressive for me. Anyway, it was an overnight conference. I found myself at breakfast with him in the morning, and he started talking at me. It was, and I was drinking my cup of tea going. And as he paused and said, so Pauline, what do you think? I started what I call a magical conversation. I went off on a slight tangent to embrace the space between us. And I was drawn up sharp because he said, Pauline, we're not having a conversation. I'm talking at you. And it was so enlightening because it was a truth. He was a ruler. He didn't need conversation. He was really looking for communication dialogue. Answer my question. Do you think I'm wonderful? If so, are you going to give me some work with your clients? So I did the one thing that I thought was very intuitive. I said, your program is excellent, because I could say that honestly. And this is the thing about authenticity. I couldn't agree with him, but I did agree with his program. And then I said, and whether we do work together will probably depend on my clients. And then I just stopped talking. And I sipped my tea very elegantly, British. And what was really interesting, this is the most important thing, is that he smiled because I said something very positive about him. He felt that I was applauding him. And he got up, shook my hand and said, great, I think we understand each other. Now, as I knew the archetypes, as a magician, I understood his action-oriented nature, but I wanted to work with somebody who had more sensitivity. And in fact, his business partner was that philosopher. And I did actually start working with his partner. I shared my views with him about this, his partner, and he totally agreed. Because there could have been a situation where I would bring that aggressive ruler in, but it wasn't my favorite place of harmony to work. So I was able to just let it go. And this is the point, I think, is you will always come across different people in your life. It's how can you tune into them, like visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. We need to use their language in order to tune in. So actually, he felt there was a very positive outcome.
Yes. And I love that you're sharing that story because, again, it was a great example for me when I was reading through your work and your research that these things are very helpful for me personally, because now I'm able to identify, especially in business partnerships, is this possible potential business partnership? Is this man or woman, a ruler, a magician, a sovereign, or
Philosopher.
a philosopher. And so by identifying and making quick decisions, then you can, arrange whatever conversation or, have your own take on how to lead perhaps that conversation, because now you're equipped with the tools to make better judgments, I believe. And I thought, like I said earlier, when I'd had this information when I was in the corporate world, it would have been extremely helpful. And it's helpful for me now, even as I'm helping writers publish. I can determine what type of writer I'm working with, and it makes my job a lot easier, because then I can help and assist in a much more aware place, where I can see different traits, and then I can adjust my programs, or I can adjust the conversation to the writer's needs. And in your case, it would apply to the workplace. And so going on to the next topic, which is, let's talk about real world application and impact. So throughout your extensive career, you worked with clients across the globe. Could you share a memorable instance or a case study where applying the principles of GDIs significantly transformed a team or an organization's dynamics?
Absolutely. And I remember one very, very interesting case. It was actually in the UK, in London, with one of the police departments. And it was actually with a very large HR department. And it was run by a woman. And to be honest, she was quite fierce. And she had 4 direct reports, 2 male and 2 female. And then she had another team below her, which was predominantly female, which often you find in HR, but it was mixed. And there was a lot of stress in the whole team. There was a lot of angst about her style. So she was, if you like, a very, interesting enough, a very healthy sovereign, because she was very focused on detail, and she wanted everything done, and she wanted it done her way. Now, one of her direct reports was a very, very gentle philosopher. Very, very good at his work, and very precise, and liked to be in his own space and not hassled. So when I'm talking to him, he says, "Oh, I'm going to leave soon. I'm going to take early retirement because she's just so annoying." And I said, "Well, what does she do well?" And he said, "Oh, she's really good at decision making and leading the team." I said, "That's good. And what are you really good at?" He said, "I'm really good at the detail, and I'm really good at being left alone and getting on. And I like to do it on my own way." So I'm talking to her, and I said, "So how are you getting on with?" "Oh, he's so annoying. He's so slow." I said, "But is he really good at what he does?" "Oh, yes." Now, this is where we get into blind spots, because we don't think about the best part of what somebody does. I said, "So the only thing that's annoying you is that he's rather an internal thinker-feeler, and you're a sort of very detailed compliance action woman."
Right.
Yes. So I said, give him a schedule and negotiate for time. That's all you need to do. He agreed, and she agreed. So what that meant was, she could come in and be very sovereign. "I want this, I need it in 45 minutes. And he would say, "Well, I can do it in an hour." "Okay, done. Deal done." She went off, whizzing down the corridor. He could relax, feel very confident. She knew that he was perfect at his job. So she had total confidence she could come back and he would have it ready.
Yeah.
The outcome was that he didn't early retire, and they actually became good friends. So yeah, so when we find if we value difference, and this is what these archetypes are about, if we value the difference and we look for authentic harmony as a plus point to getting work done and enjoying time together. I mean, why not? Work shouldn't be stressful and make you ill. If we do what we do best in the way we best do it, then you get this kind of result. And after the 6 months we worked with the whole team, she said this was the best ever training that we've ever done, because she said it's not training, and it's lifelong learning.
Right.
So you become more of yourself. You don't need to learn anymore. You don't have to remember who you are. You just become okay about being who you are.
I love that. What a wonderful case study. And the fact that you were able to go in there and, instead of, because worst case scenario would have been that this employee leaves the company, but because it was an intervention is what I would call it, right? Where they hired you to come in and share your wisdom and your knowledge. It was all through conversation, and as you love to call it, authentic harmony and magical conversation. So what a great way to lead into our second topic, or our fourth topic now, which is a vision of authentic harmony. You often speak about authentic harmony in leadership and gender relations. In your view, what does authentic harmony look like in a practical day-to-day business environment? And how can leaders start to foster this with their teams?
Well, I think it certainly embraces everything that we know about the desire for engaging in employees and wellness and good health. But for me, it's a bit of a step further, because we tend to look at communication skills as a necessary skill, but I think having a conversation is a much greater skill than communication, because you're embracing somebody else's perspective and you're also looking for more. So when we create a magical conversation culture, there's the employees are eager to be in those sessions because they know they don't have to be anybody other than themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no hierarchy when you're in a magical conversation. So the boss might be sitting there with somebody from a lower level or outside, but the arrangement is we're going to talk knowing who we are and without judgment. And we're going to talk about a topic. So it could be customer service, it could be equality, it could be wellness. But we're looking at it in a way where we share our experiences rather than our opinions. And therefore, we can move towards something which is much more co-creative. And especially when you've got women and men together, and there's an imbalance or there have been challenges between men and women, this is a way to really understand it's okay to be me. And it's okay to be us, because nobody is going to force us to do something in the time allocated. So for leaders, it's very much a sense of stepping into it and letting go, which is often quite difficult for leaders. And when you look at the archetypes, they do it in different ways. So the ruler is less inclined to be chattery. He doesn't want a lot of chatter. So he's probably the most difficult to get into the magical conversation. But if he is an observer, which often they are, he can hear the excitement of the people around him.
Right.
A quick example, I had a senior male client, and he didn't understand what the word empathy mean. And he was a philosopher, but he didn't know that he was empathetic, and his team loved him for being empathetic, but he felt he had to control them. He was living in a world which, in his head, he was saying, I need to be a ruler. But actually, he didn't. He needed to just be his philosopher. So I persuaded him to let his team be more autonomous. Mm-hmm. And he came back to me, he said, oh my God, he said, this is wonderful. I can be the gentle giant and they all love me. And I don't have to get stressed about being the strong man.
Yes.
And this guy was 6'4". So it was just so fascinating. So
I love this gentle giant word, this gentle giant. I love that.
Well, I always think of Nelson Mandela as a very classic philosopher, and he was a very big man. He was a great presence. Every archetype, when they get into their own archetype, they become very much present to the rest of you. And that's what I love. And that's why authentic harmony means that we accept everybody for who they are, not for who we want them to be.
Ooh, I love that. I love that. So with that in mind, share a little bit about or give advice to emerging leaders. What advice would you give to young emerging leaders, especially women who are navigating their paths in traditional male-dominated industries? And how can they apply the principles of GDI to advance their career and create a more inclusive environment?
I think that's a really challenging question, not because it's not possible, but it would depend on the environment that this emerging leader goes into. And I think everything is changing now. And I would suggest being very aware of your archetype for a start, understanding that there will be some people around you who are stuck in the old paradigm of control and command. And maybe some of the rulers will be like that. Some of the women, there can be very aggressive female leaders, but really nurturing and kindness and respect and empathy compassion. These are all the new words of the world that we are in now, especially post-pandemic. And therefore, as an emerging leader, be sure about yourself. You can be a ruler, but you can be wise. You can be a philosopher and be a bit more outspoken. You can be a sovereign and more embracing, and you can be a magician and share your ideas. So really understand that you're leading a new world. It doesn't have to be like the old world. I think the new world is full of AI and uncertainty and creativity, and it's full of relationships. Relational energy is really important. So as an emerging leader, know yourself and know how you make and build and secure and endure lasting relationships. Because as you move up the ladder, then you will be seen for being, especially young women, you will be seen to being a powerful talent as opposed to some kind of force for fighting for equality. I'm very much into harmony, and for me, we're equal and different, and therefore harmony comes from knowing yourself and knowing that other people will most likely be different to you. So pick your journey in your career carefully. If you're in an organization and it really is too hard to change, then go to another one.
Mm-hmm. I love that advice, especially for young leaders that are now going into the corporations and trying to navigate a completely different world, and at least what I was used to, what you were used to, and these are simple tools of being able to identify patterns. I know you've talked a lot about patterns as well, and that goes deeper into your work. So anybody who wants to learn more, you definitely want to pick up her book, The Power of Authentic Harmony. So as we come to a close of our lightning conversation with Dr. Pauline, I want to express our deepest gratitude to her for sharing her invaluable insights and wisdom with us today. Her pioneering work in gender dynamics intelligence and her vision for authentic harmony in the workplace are not just thought-provoking, they're game changers in the way we understand and navigate our professional and personal lives. So I want to thank you, Dr. Pauline, for answering these questions, for having this conversation with me today. And my hope is that this conversation can spread throughout all of the corporations, and we can have a lot of executives and HR department directors really come to understand your words so they can themselves implement it in their workplace. And then I'll go ahead and leave the final words for you.
Well, I think as you mentioned circles at the beginning, as I circle back over 7 decades, life has changed a lot over 7 decades, and I've had the fortune to be dealing with clients in different parts of the world, in the UK, in Europe, in Malaysia, and now in the US, which, as we know, is a vast country. And I know absolutely, I have proven over and over again that these 4 archetypes exist. They're not personalities, they are reactive behavior types. They are the only ones that you will get in your profile, which are about gender. So we add in other profiles as well. But the key is knowing your archetype. And it's the key to learning how to play, if you like, in the playground of life. Remember when you went to school, how difficult it was going into the playground the first time you were there, and you wondered, what are those gregarious types are? What are the quiet types? Who am I? Where do I fit? And so my passion is to help you understand these patterns, and these patterns help harmony. And if you desire harmony, then you can make your way through any career path. You can create your own business. As an entrepreneur, you need to know who is in your marketplace, and it will help you in your personal life as well. So my passion is to create a pain-free life and a beautiful, joyful existence for everybody.
Wonderful. Thank you. So to our viewers, we hope that this interview has offered you a new perspective on leadership, gender dynamics, and the power of understanding and cooperation. Remember, the journey to authentic harmony and effective leadership begins with each one of us embracing and applying these principles in our daily interactions. So don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel, 100 Authors, 100 Days, for more inspiring content. Leave your thoughts and questions in the comments below. We love to hear from you. Until next time, keep striving for excellence and harmony in all that you do. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful day.